Hello, hello. So Google has recently, like yesterday or the day before, announced updates to their inactive account policies. So let's talk some tech about what this means for users, explore your options, and we'll talk about what it really means. So let's go ahead and get this party started, shall we? Should. Oh, not with that. Hello, hello, and welcome. So, you may or may not have heard already, but Google has updated their inactive account policies. And the short version of this for you TLDR folks is that if your account has been inactive for a period that they deem too long, you will end up losing your account, all of your data, all of the stuff associated with it. So we're going to talk about what these changes are, and talk about some ideas and strategies for making sure that doesn't happen to you. And we'll also touch on what to do if you just don't want to deal with this, because that totally makes sense too. But for those of you who are new here, welcome, welcome. My name is Kathleen, and I'm here as your tech coach. Basically, I'm here to provide the information that I provide to my friends, family, and neighbors and clients, because I know not everybody has somebody they can go to with their tech questions. So that's why we're here, and welcome. All right. Let's start this, shall we? Okay, so the first thing, of course, is what are we talking about? So we're talking about the fact that Google has always had something in their terms and conditions that said, if you're not using your account, it may go away. But it's really important to understand the change that they've just made, because it's definitely does up the game, and they're going to start taking action on it as of December of 2023. So right now it's still May. So it's May of 2023. So in a couple of months. So unlike the previous kerfuffle, which they rolled back because they were going to make changes and then people got upset because they weren't giving enough warning and they weren't letting people know about it and all that kind of stuff. I guess it was a lesson learned. And now they are trying to give us enough information and enough time in order to make decisions that's best for us. That said, I know not everybody pays attention to the emails that we get, or the chatter on the the tech sites and all that. So that's why we talk about this stuff here, because I want to make sure that my folks out there know what's coming and know what your options are and whether or not you should care. Because not all of these things matter to everybody, but they do matter to a lot of us. Okay, so to get started, let's go ahead and look at the post that has started this conversation, because that's probably as good a place as any to start the conversation. Let me get this out of the way. So this was posted on the 16th, so that's now 2 days ago. And they just outlined and kind of let everybody know that they're going to make this change. So it's all about the inactive accounts. And, gave their reasons for it, which is about protection. They want to make sure that everything is safe and secure. They're taking the stand that if you're not logging into your account, it's not getting updated. You're not seeing changes that they want you to make as far as passwords and two-factor and that kind of stuff. Or that, maybe you haven't changed your password in, 5-10 years, which I know people like that. And I totally understand. But their concern is that the inactive accounts are kind of like honey to the evil bees that are scammers and malware folks and all that. So they are putting that out there. So they did a really nice job of just kind of laying it out there without it being too long, or overly techy. And as always, the links are in the description, so you can go and read this yourself at your leisure. But that is what got this conversation rolling. Now, I do want to point out, because as tends to happen, people start to get excited. This approach and this rule has actually always been in place for Google accounts in general. Like, that's always been sort of a thing. If you ever, you should go in and read your terms and conditions every once in a while. But it's never really been enforced except in Google Voice. So it's definitely been there in Google Voice for a long time, probably from the very beginning. And that is someplace where they definitely have been putting it into action. So if you have a Google Voice number and you probably should, because it's nice to have an extra number for reasons. Um, if you don't use it for a certain amount of time, they do reach out and send you an email. But again, that's usually an account that you're not on like a whole lot. So you may not have gotten it, and you can end up losing that number. And I know a lot of people that that's happened to, and it's always a shock. Sometimes you can get the number back. Most of the time you can't. But you can always set up a new Google Voice. But if you're using that for things, then you have to make sure you go and update it everywhere. So that's just an example of the fact that this is not super new, right? It is something that they've done before. So really what they're saying is this has always been an option, and now we're letting you know we're going to start enforcing it. So, it's their playground, it's their ball. They are totally allowed to do these kinds of things. Sorry, I'm just realizing I need to check and see. Okay. Wanted to make sure I had the comments all set up because I forgot last week. So I apologize for that. All right, so that's the basics around the inactivity policy. Basically, it's that if you're not using it, if you're not going into it, then that's an issue. And we'll get into a little more detail about it. But the other thing I wanted to cover up front here is that there is a difference between personal Google accounts and business accounts. And the big defining line there is that it's not going to affect accounts like organizations, businesses, the schools, right? So a lot of schools are using the Chromebooks and all that kind of stuff. It's not, I don't really want to say the word targeted. It's not being implemented in those areas. It's really just being focused on the personal Google accounts, because a lot of people tend to have multiple personal Google accounts. They create one, they forget the password, they can't be bothered, they go set up another one, that kind of thing. Whereas when it comes to the businesses, the organizations, and the schools, they tend to be a little bit cleaner about it, right? They have their accounts and they use them, or they have a account, and they may or may not use it, but it's one account, not 100. So that's just important information. If you're coming at this, and you're curious about your business or your organization or your school setup, that's fine. You're good. It's really focused right now on personal. That said, that doesn't mean that in the future they won't go ahead and activate this for those other ones. So it's just a good idea. Any accounts that you've got, either go in every so often and log in and check on things, or really go and do the official delete on them. That's sort of the TLDR on that one. Too long, didn't read. That's what I'm referring to. All righty. So let's talk about what does this mean for you in a practical standpoint, right? In order to keep your account active, right? So in order to not have this trigger on your personal Google account, you just need to do some basic action, right? You don't have to do multiples. You need to do something, right? So you want to log in to the Gmail account for that account and read an email, send an email, something like that, right? Use Google Drive, put a file out there, remove a file, like interact with it on some level. Watch YouTube video while you're logged into that account, right? So it's not just, hey, I watched a YouTube video, but you have to be logged in as that user watching the YouTube video. Probably a better idea if you're doing that to not just watch it, but also, interact with it, post a comment, do the like or whatever on it. Another option would be to log in to that account on a device and download an app from the store, the Google Play Store, or update an account from on that device, because that, again, will show some activity. Doing Google search even could be enough, as long as you're logged in as that account. So that's the key here, right? So if you have multiple accounts, sometimes you just fall into a habit of just using the one. So this is something where you're going to want to be mindful. Go select that account, log in, and then do some activity. Another thing that's supposed to keep you on the active list is if you sign into a third-party app or service using that Google account. So, for example, some websites you can, set up an account, and that gets you like extra access. Or some applications will let you use your Google account to sign in rather than having to create another ID and password. All of those things are considered activity on that account and will keep you from getting hit with this. So it's pretty simple. It's really just a matter of remembering to do it, because that's the whole key here, right? Is that these tend to be forgotten accounts, or maybe you haven't completely forgotten it, but you've just not bothered to switch accounts because, hey, you're already logged in and you're doing what you need to do. So you do need to make sure that you're logged in as that account in order to make sure that you are staying active. Now, there are two other things about this that I need to point out. One is all of this stuff that we're talking about is good for your Google account in general. It keeps that active. Also for Gmail, for Google Drive, all those kinds of things. But when it comes to Google Photos, it turns out that those steps I just talked about are not enough to keep your Google Photos account considered active. Not super clear why. I went digging. I don't know why that's being treated as something different, but it is. So you need to be aware of that. And so everything I just talked about as far as ways to keep your account alive, you want to do those to make sure that your Google account is alive. But then you also want to make sure that you go into Google Photos for that account. And if you don't have something there, take a picture of the wall and post it there. Go in, once a year and edit that picture. Like, do something in Google Photos so that you don't lose your Google Photos account. Because it seems like from everything I'm reading and hearing, even if you go through and you keep your Google account active in the active state by doing something, if you don't also do that same type of thing in Google Photos, you could end up losing your photos, which would be bad. So keep that in mind. That's a special case. The other thing that this impacts in a different way is Google One. So Google One is a service where you can pay for extra space. You also get VPN service included with that, all that kind of stuff. If you have an existing subscription through your Google account, and you have your account is in good standing, right? So you're up to date, you're paid. That will also keep your account in the active list. Now, again, I don't think that's going to cover you for photos, for Google Photos. So still make sure you go into that, every so often. But if you're paying for Google One and you're in good standing, you're up to date on your payments, that's also another indication that your account is active. And so you don't have to worry about it. Is that good? We're all on the same page here. Let me just make sure. Yes. Okay. We're good. All righty. Thank you very much, Gamer. I appreciate that. Let me bring that up. That's a good one. Okay, let's try that again. Send. Okay, I don't know why that's not working. Oh, 1 sec. Yes. I don't know why that's not working tonight. Huh. Okay, for some reason, VMix Social is not working tonight, so I'll just read it. He posted a comment saying, primetime entertainment and information. We try to make it fun, right? I know not everybody's super excited about these conversations, but it is important to be aware. And you know what? I'm just going to try shutting this down and see if I can bring it back up. It's weird. I don't know why that's usually pretty stable. Like, I pretty much just open it and it's ready to rock. Come on. All right, let me try one more time. Oh, okay. Well, that's a bummer. I do like your comments. Your comments are fun. But let's see. We'll see what happens. Let me try it this way. That on Facebook, find. Okay, and on. No, not that one. Just trying to turn on Twitter. That's tomorrow. All right, let's see. Let's just try. I'm sorry, but this is very weird. Oh, okay. It's just not happy tonight. Okay. I will have to submit a ticket later because something not happy. That's okay. We'll keep going. We'll stay focused on Google, but thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. Maybe it's mad at Google. That's a good point. Maybe it is. Who knows? I'm just looking to see. There's no update listed, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Technology. It fights back. All right. So let me just give you one little extra tip on this before we get into like timing and that kind of thing. So actually, let me read it to you. Let me read you the criteria. So the way that it's written up is that they're defining an inactive account as an account that has not been used within a 2-year period. Okay, and says, Google reserves the right to delete an inactive account and its activity and data if you are inactive across Google for at least 2 years. That is a nice window, okay? But my recommendation to people as I'm talking to them about this is don't wait 2 years, right? So if you have an account that you just keep on the back burner for whatever reason, make it a habit, put it on your calendar to go into that account or accounts. I would say at least twice a year, just for insurance policies. So that way, if you miss one, it's not the end of the world. So, if there's certain things that happen, certain events, you could tie it to that. But if you just put on your calendar as a reminder, they come up and says, twice a year, go in, log into the account, do something, and then you don't have to worry about it, because it's too easy, especially with the way the world has been lately, for 2 years to go by and you have no idea, right? It's like, oh, how could 2 years have gone by? It feels like 20 minutes. So I strongly recommend that you go ahead and you do this at least twice a year. More if you can, right? 4 times a year is not a bad idea, just again for that security. But either way, I would say a minimum of twice a year just to make sure you're covered. And if you do forget one, then it's not the end of the world. Because if you wait 2 years, you might be in the window where they've already triggered you, right? Because you don't know exactly what date they're using. So don't risk it. Be a little proactive about it, and that way you'll be able to keep it and not worry about it. So let's talk about the timing for this. When is this going to happen? The way that they've worded it is it happened, right? It's already in place. However, they're not going to take that action of shutting down accounts until December 2023. Now, there's no date. There's just December 2023 is when they're going to start actively going in, looking for accounts that they deem to be inactive and eating them out. Now, they say they're going to send emails beforehand to warn you. But again, if it's an account that you're not using that puts it at risk of putting it on the inactive list, the odds of you seeing that email, pretty small, right? So again, be aware. And if you are in the situation where you do have these accounts, I would go into them now or whenever you see this video and go ahead and do that, because otherwise you do risk, especially in this particular window, losing something. Because if they activated it as of May 16th, and there are people whose accounts are already been inactive for that 2-year period. So they're just waiting till December to go ahead and delete them. So don't wait, go in and do it right away as soon as you find out about this, and then get into that rhythm of doing it twice a year at least. And that will make your life easier. They did say that they're taking a phased approach. Don't rely on that to keep you safe. But they say they're going to start with accounts that were created and never used again. So again, I know a lot of people who did that, right? They created their main Gmail account, but things happen and you lose control of an account or something happens to it. So a lot of people automatically create a backup account, which there's nothing wrong with. It's totally fine. And it's not even that they're having a problem with that. They just don't want those inactive accounts staying inactive for long periods. So again, yes, phased approach, but don't count on it. Go in there and make sure you do something on it right now. And then again, every few months, twice a year, so that you're sure that you're okay. Because like I said, the emails they're going to send out, that's very nice of them. And they are trying at least to notify people. But if you're not in that account on a regular basis, they're speaking into the void, and that's not going to be, it's not going to be successful for a lot of people. If you'd like more information about this, if you want to monitor this on a more regular basis, because what I showed you was just really a blog post that they put out to let everybody know and kind of trigger the conversation, hopefully get it, get the people who write the news articles to pay attention. Let me show you. There is, of course, on their website, the policy is there. So again, the link is in the description, but here you can come in and you can get a lot more detail about what they consider to be inactive, what products it actually impacts, which is basically all of them, but do be aware of the fact that photos is being treated differently. So you need to go in there also. Again, they list out, how you can be considered active. This, you need to take one of these steps. You don't have to do all of them, but you have to make sure you're signed into that account. And they do, I believe, yes. Include these actions when signed in, right, to that account. So that's really important. And the other thing that's really important is that it's tied to accounts and not the device. So if you rely on a particular computer, that's your Google device or a phone or whatever, that's not enough. You have to be signed into the account. Let's see, what else? And then they talk about what happens when it is inactive. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out, okay, so they said December 1st here. I didn't see that. All the other references are just December. So December 1st, so they're not going to mess around. This is a good thing to keep an eye on for changes, because this is where they'll post them. And then there's, exceptions. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but if you want to delete your account, if you want to recover your account, I don't know how successful that's going to be. I would prefer not to risk it, but that is something talks about if you want to put an account on hold. So there's a lot of good information in here, and it's a good thing to come back and check on to see if they have changed anything. It will always be added in here. So something to keep an eye on. All right, let me just make sure I'm checking my checklist here to make sure we cover everything. All righty. All right, so we talked about timing. So let's talk about if you just don't want to deal with this, right? If you know you've got some of these Google accounts and you just don't want to deal, what I recommend doing is logging into that account that you don't rely on a regular basis, and just take a look at it. Like, go through the emails, look at the OneDrive, your Google Drive, sorry, to make sure that there's nothing there that you need, that there's no Google Docs or spreadsheets or anything. If there is, go in and pull it down, right? That's before you do anything else. And there is that takeout feature, which I can walk you through. If you'd like me to cover that in another video, please let me know. You can go ahead and put that in the comments here, or you can go to the website and fill out the form and let me know that you want me to do content on that, and I will be happy to do so. But go and get any information that you could possibly need. And if don't assume that there's none, go and look first, because you did set that account up for a reason. So make sure that there's nothing in there, or that you didn't inadvertently put something in there that would be a problem if you lost it, particularly photos, videos, emails, files, that type of thing. And then after you've done that, then you can go ahead and you can go through the process of actually shutting down that account, because you're taking care of two things, right? You don't have to worry about them deleting it in an inopportune moment, but also you're helping them, right, by taking care of an account and not leaving it out there for spammers or script kiddies or any of the other people with too much time on their hands. You're not leaving that door open for somebody to go and get in and cause problems. So you want to go ahead and do that. So you can go ahead and take care of that. Make sure that after you get the data out that you want, I would go in and delete the other stuff. Not that it's not backed up on a server someplace, but just for giggles, right? That's what I do anytime I close an account, is I go in and I wipe it as much as I possibly can before I shut it down. And make sure that that includes things like your contacts list and all that, because that's the kind of stuff that even somebody could get in, if something happened, and somebody got into a server that they shouldn't have, getting a hold of your contacts means that now they've got emails and addresses that they can go and bother people with. So don't leave anything laying around if you don't have to. And then just go ahead and delete it. They've got very clear instructions on how to do that. And then you don't have to worry about it, right? You can just focus on whatever account you do have. So that's it. I mean, it's not a big hairy deal, right? It's something that happens on a lot of accounts. Like any service that you sign up for, if you let it sit for a while, it tends to go away after a certain period if you don't do anything with it. And at least they are just taking care of things and letting us know in advance and all that kind of good stuff. What do we got going on here? Please do content on that. Okay, so Gamer, you want me to do content on the takeout feature? No problem. Let me make a note of that. Okay. Okay, yeah, no problem. It's a pretty simple process. It reminded me a lot of doing the download when Periscope shut down. So yeah, it's very much it's pretty simple. It just takes a little time. Then of course you get, depending on how much data you've got, you could end up with a big honking file, but it's just a good thing. Frankly, it's a good thing to do every once in a while anyway, just sort of a backup. So just to wrap things up here, well, actually, before I do that, let me just remind you that if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have a topic you want me to cover, or if you just need help, you can reach out to me at yourtechcoach.com. There's a contact form there. If you have a quick question, you can go ahead and pop it there if it's something I can answer real quick in an email. Otherwise, you can also schedule a consult with me where we can do a one-on-one conversation. I can answer your questions or help you with whatever tech issues you're having. But also, like I said, if you have an idea for a show, please, by all means, go ahead and put it there, because the best shows come from your requests. So please do not hesitate on that. Also, I'm getting very close to a milestone here on YouTube, so I'm going to do something to acknowledge that. So if you want to find out about it before everybody else, join the mailing list. It's not used for like third-party sales. Like, no, I don't sell the list to anybody. It's just a way for me to let you know what's going on and keep you up to date. So it's yourtechcoach.com/mailing list. All right. So as I wrap up here, let me just remind you that what's going on is that Google has decided that the always there in the fine print option of them shutting down accounts that are inactive for a certain period has now been bumped up to something that they're going to take action on and enforce on a regular basis. That went into effect on May 16th, 2023. And now it is a couple days later. And so I'm giving you a heads up about it because they are going to start shutting down accounts that have been inactive or have been set up and never used starting on December 1st, 2023. And then after that, it's probably going to be a daily job that's run in the background. It's going to go, it's going to look for these accounts. It's going to give you a certain number of email notifications to that inactive account. I understand there's no other way for them to get a hold of you, but that's what they're going to do. And then when you don't respond, they're just going to wipe the account. And that means they're shutting down the account. They're deleting the files, all that kind of stuff. So be proactive about it. Stay on top of it. Make sure that you're taking care of it. One more thing I'm going to mention, and I know it's kind of a downer, but it's just practical life. This is not just about your accounts, right? This is also about accounts of people around you. So just as an example, if you've had somebody who has died or for whatever reason is not able to manage their own accounts anymore, you're going to want to step up and take care of that for them, because otherwise you could be losing something that is precious or very important for them. So again, I know it's not a happy topic, but it is life. And so it is something to think about, like if somebody's passed and, you kind of keep the account around because there's some emails in there that are useful or just, sweet and good memories. Same with photos, videos, that kind of stuff. You could end up losing those through inaction. So make sure you go and you take care of that, or you talk to the people who have access to that account and make sure that it gets taken care of, because that would be a terrible way to lose stuff that otherwise could have been saved. And the stuff that's saved could actually be helpful, because a lot of people have account information, that kind of stuff. Budget, people store stuff, right? So it's important to have that because it's a part of running your life. So anyway, I did just want to make sure that I mentioned that as a part of this, because it is a bigger issue than just your own accounts and the pictures of your cat or dog or whatever. Okay, so that's it. Let me check. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, Gamer, no problem. I will definitely add that into the schedule, and we will do a whole show just on using takeout. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you will go ahead and be proactive about it. For those of you who are keeping track, turns out I'm still able to live stream to Twitter. But future people may not care about this, but in this point in time, that's sort of a big deal because most of the doors are shut on that. So I know that there are people that are out there watching that and keeping track of it. So yes, as of tonight, I was still able to do that, and it was live. So enjoy that for what it's worth. All right, everybody, have a good one. I hope that you have a great weekend, and we are here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You are always welcome to come and hang out and join the chat live. But if not, if you have questions, comments, go ahead and throw those in the comments, and I do go through all of them and respond wherever I can. As a matter of fact, I just did that the other day. So go ahead, don't hesitate. And always, you can always reach out to me here at yourtechcoach.com. So have a good one, and we will talk again soon. Bye.